Hi, I'm Kate Oliver. In complex situations, with so much unpredictable stuff going on, a normal human response is to try to reduce the overload that we're facing. We often withdraw to our own perspective or defer to other people's perspectives and seek to make the whole thing much simpler, at times seeking seemingly simple solutions to complex problems. Politics and disagreements often loom in complex situations, and again we can hang on to our own perspective and lose our ability to tap into others' thoughts and feelings, or become lost in the thoughts and feelings of others and lose our sense of ourselves and what's really important to us. This can lead to us finding ourselves in unexpected and intractable disagreements, or resorting to compromises that don't really address the issues. Becoming more adept at seeing different perspectives is essential where we're operating in an unpredictable world, with no best practice or good practice answers, and where no one person, no matter how knowledgeable or intelligent, has the answer. Instead, complexity calls for a range of collaborations and experiments with new ways of thinking, behaving, and leading. It needs us to see our own perspective more clearly, including the limitations of this, and start to build our capacity to see, value, and examine other perspectives. This then enables wider groups of people to come together to jointly explore, design, and test new approaches that have a better chance of successfully meeting these complex challenges. In this video, we will be exploring 4 different perspectives that we will refer to as first, second, third, and fourth person perspectives. First person perspective is your own reality, your view of the situation. The more you understand about yourself, your values and beliefs, your thoughts and feelings, and what's at stake for you, the better you can take a strong first position and influence others through showing up authentically, make your stand for what matters to you in your own personal example. Second person perspective requires a creative leap of imagination to understand the world from another person's perspective, to think in the way that they think, to feel what they are feeling. This is the basis of empathy and rapport. This perspective is often referred to as deeply standing in the shoes of another. It requires a genuine understanding of the other person's emotions, and importantly, it goes beyond this and requires us to understand how another person thinks, their values, motivations, views, and opinions, and what's really at stake for them. Third person perspective, also known as the neutral observer, is the ability to step outside both your own view and that of another person and to take a detached view of the situation, to rise above the detail of different individual viewpoints, to see the space between people, the dynamics at play, and see connections across a range of perspectives from a more objective standpoint. Now, it's hard to be truly neutral. After all, we're bringing our own subjective selves into our observing, and this is where the fourth person perspective, or the witness, comes in. Imagine your observer is wearing glasses. The witness sees that the lenses through which we're doing the observing are subjective, they're biased. It sees our own biases, beliefs, and assumptions, the impact of our national culture and societal, political, and organisational norms, and how this affects our perspective shifting capacity. And we each have particular strengths in our ability to adopt each of these 4 positions. Building the capacity to use these positions helps in responding more creatively to genuine complexity by seeing and valuing perspectives outside our default or preferred mode. It helps us to sell the benefits by no longer assuming that the important benefits for us are the same for others. We can look at benefits from many different perspectives to really appeal to others' interests. And it helps us to gain buy-in by using first position for painting a vision of what we want, second perspective for looking at others' motivations and needs, and third person perspective to identify common ground and shared interests. And in doing this, we could create much fuller engagement of all parties to a solution. So let's dig a little deeper now into these different perspectives to understand more about them. First person perspective is about tuning into and really understanding yourself. It involves asking questions such as, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? What do I want or need from this situation? What's at stake for me here? What have I noticed about the way I am today? What assumptions am I making in this moment? What impact am I having on the people around me right now? And how did that meeting go? What did I do well? What could I have improved on? Second person perspective is about deeply understanding the position of another person or party. It involves questions such as, what do they want or need from this situation? But doing this beyond the intellectualizing, not the just, I know this kind of person, or the knee-jerk stereotyping that we often do of someone that we're working with. Yeah, I know what they're thinking, this is what they always do. It's so easy to assume that their motives are not as good as ours, yet they frequently are. It's just that they and their motives are different to us. Now, when we're new to this second person perspective practice, and the situation is quite fraught, it can be hard to really sight ourselves in the shoes of the other person. So to help you really step into their shoes, I find it helpful to speak in their first person voice. I, not they. So for example, rather than they are feeling conflicted, as you stand in their shoes, say, I am feeling really conflicted right now. It can also be helpful to sit as person two would sit, or to stand as they would stand, or speak as they speak, to get a deeper sense, a deeper feel of how they really are and what's really going on for them. As far as possible, to act as if you are them by embodying the way they act and speak to help you really understand their perspective. And strengthening our ability to take this second person perspective helps build trust in a relationship by showing the other person that we understand their feelings and opinion, even if we don't agree with it. For example, you seem really frustrated by this. Can you help me understand what's most annoying to you right now? Or I sense this must be quite difficult for you. What can I do to make things easier? Or I sense you might want different things from me here. Can you tell me a little more about what it is that's important to you? Third person perspective, or the neutral observer, is about stepping back from both first and second person perspectives and seeing things as if from a third party position who is not involved in the situation, rather like being a fly on the wall. It's being as objective as possible about what's going on. You might find it helpful to think of it as stepping up onto a balcony and watching the relationship as if it were a play, doing your best to see things, to observe things without attachment, filter or bias. Here you put yourself in the position of a neutral observer, someone who has two equally valid people to observe, who likes both of you equally and who can focus on the facts of the situation without having a vested interest in its outcome. Trying to stay as neutral, open and curious as possible. What do you notice about what's going on in this situation? How do the two people or parties interact and respond to each other? How would you describe the quality of their relationship? What adjectives would you use for this? What do you notice about the dynamics of what's happening between them? What do you think is going on in this situation? From this neutral, detached perspective here, what wise advice would you give yourself to help achieve a better outcome? The fourth person perspective or witness then comes as we realise that our own neutral observer might not be all that neutral, however hard we try. It is still you, it is still us with your own perspective, bias, history, assumptions and beliefs. So a well-formed fourth person perspective is more tuned into the impact of your background, national culture, societal norms, life experiences and the organisational culture on yourselves, other people and what's going on. From this witness position, we might ask questions such as, what's the tint of the lenses through which I, as observer, have been looking at this situation? What biases am I bringing? What am I particularly focusing on? What am I noticing? What am I not noticing? What am I overlooking? How many different and competing perspectives can we bring to understand the situation? What are the possibilities created by this apparent turbulence or difficulty? And what are the risks in this apparent opportunity? How can we challenge our ideas and our data to make sure our map of reality is as accurate as possible? Now, of course, none of these perspectives are necessarily right or wrong. If we're really able to step into the fourth person perspective, we are able to see that all perspectives are subjective, each containing an important piece of the puzzle. In complex situations, there are generally many different perspectives on the same issue, all with value, all that can help in finding a way forward. With a transport company I was working with, an industrial dispute looked very different from the viewpoint of the CEO, the trades union and their members, the HR director, the travelling public, their customers and a supplier. All had a valid perspective, and an effective resolution required an appreciation of all of these. Similarly, I was coaching a director in an organisation who was trying to implement a major change initiative. Things looked very different to them as the project initiator and sponsor, compared to how other directors who were expected to implement the change initiative saw things, and in turn different again to others in the organisation who were going to be subject to the impact of the change. Once they were more able to understand the value of and see these different perspectives, they were better equipped to collaborate and gain engagement to a way forward that embraced both the opportunities and challenges of the change for all involved. So, consciously focusing on improving our perspective taking and the ability to shift between these different perspectives prompts us into deeper, more complex thinking that results in better outcomes to complex challenges. To summarise, in this lesson we've explored different types of perspective and how the capacity to shift between them enables us to respond more skillfully in a complex world. First person perspective, focusing on your own reality. Second person perspective, understanding another person's emotions, thinkings and values, deeply stepping into their shoes. Third person perspective, the neutral observer, stepping up onto the balcony and looking down on the situation without a vested interest or involvement. And fourth person perspective, witness, noticing how the context, environment, social norms and our own assumptions and beliefs affect our ability to see clearly what's going on in the situation.